Pat Carroll, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you for coming. Isn't it a beautiful day out? Oh, you don't like it? Well, then we'll change it. That's how we'll go here today.
They're
Jim.
horror fans. They like it when it's gloomy and bleak.
Oh, do they? Well, come to California. Jim, I'm glad to see you again. You are very fortunate to have this gentleman around these premises. He's wonderful at what he does. Oh, look at him. He's so humble. He's crying because you love him.
One of the nicest people I've ever met, this lady.
Oh, come on.
Really, you are. There's a few questions that I didn't get to ask you, in particular about the production-wise, recording the movie. What was the setup? I know that sometimes for voiceover stuff they have you separate from your colleagues, or they have you record on different days.
Yourself.
You were?
Yeah, you're all by yourself. And the two directors were also the producers. I call them the two Johns. That sounds dreadful. And they were wonderful, though. But they knew this was a very important film for the Disney company. And those gentlemen knew that everything had to be perfect. And they worked until they got it right. They'd send it upstairs. They would either send it back to be redone because they weren't pleased with it, whatever. They worked always to the challenge of excellence, which I think the film shows that. It shows that people cared, whereas the sequel was dreadful because nobody put that title. It's true. If you ever see that, it's dreadful because it's the same time and effort. If you're going to be excellent at anything, you have to do it and do it and do it till it's totally right. Do you agree, Jim?
I absolutely do, yeah.
Well, in this case, I think the Disney company, which has been very kind to me, and they are a wonderful company to work for. I think you'll agree with that, Jim.
I do.
But they also demand excellence. And you go to the parks or you go anywhere, these young people who work in the Disney system are so gorgeously trained. You know, and it's the Disney attitude that is so wonderful. The parks are clean. You could eat off the grounds. I just respect them because they try the hardest to do the best. And if we all did that, wouldn't this world be wonderful? Wow. But the work, I worked on it 2 years. This is how careful they were about it. And you would do 2 different sessions. You would do a spoken session where you would do lines one day, and then the next day you might be in a music studio recording the music. So each time you never knew where you were going to be, but I didn't care because I knew I was in good hands. So I was going to be all right. But they worked and worked and worked until they got it right, which I just admire so much, and I admire the way they work. And I had been a Disney fan since I was a tiny little girl in El Paso, Texas. And there was a Mickey Mouse Club then. This was before the Civil War, of course. But there are pictures of me standing in my Mickey Mouse outfit. I loved the Disney films.
Are you going to put those pictures in your book? Yes, good.
I am, because they tickle me. They just tickle the life out of me. Jim is referring, I am working on my memoirs. And I've got to tell you, I'm having the time of my life. And I suggest to anyone over 70 that you start doing this because you're going to find yourself delighted with the people who come back into your life because you're remembering them. And they may be long gone, but you are remembering them. And it's so exciting to me. And of course you forget people because life carries you along at a great pace. But when you see them again on a page, in a picture, you go, oh, isn't that one? How lucky I was to have this person as a friend. And you know what I'm going to call the book? Dancing with the Skeletons. Now, does that sound too macabre to you? No way! It's fun. You know, and can't you see all the different people on the cover? Everybody I worked with, Danny Thomas, Danny Kaye. You know, all of them as skeletons with their little faces. Was that you? Did you like it? Well, I am working on it. I'm having the time of my life. And I was in Florida during April. I was down in Jacksonville Beach. I was riding 4 to 6 hours every day. Isn't that wonderful? And it wasn't hard to do. It was enjoyable. So please, those of you over 70 who have a Pandora's box of memories and joyous things to tell and sad things to tell, don't leave sad things in your life out. That's part of your life. That's how you get these wrinkles, you know, and be proud of every wrinkle you have. Oh, you betcha. And you sound very young. You don't have anything. But I want to be proud of them. I am enjoying old age, Jim. I really am. And I find things are at a different pace when you're older, but the joy you have is looking back at a life that is pretty well spent now. You know, I'm waiting in God's waiting room. But they will
Welcome
say
to
that
Florida.
about God. Oh, I hope that's not insulting, but it's funny. But I'll tell you, I always feel sad for people who are older, who decry being older. Oh, don't. If you've lived life this long, rejoice in it. Have a ball with it. Look back and think of all the... And you will find the most interesting patterns in your life where you really didn't make the decision. And it might be a very big one, but it was almost taken out of your hands from elsewhere. And you'll go, oh my goodness, I didn't see that at that time, but I see it now. And be very respectful of that, because we are wonderful pawns in this marvelous thing called life. And the good things that happen to you, even the bad things, we learn from everything, and don't forget it, and use the knowledge that you get from these life experiences. And young people, don't be afraid of growing old. It's all an adventure. It's not going to hurt you to grow old. Your bones creak, you don't walk so good, you know. So what? So bloody what? Just enjoy life every day that you can, because that's what we're here for. To enjoy this magnificent adventure.